Hello and welcome to Devereux's Fireside Chat video series. This month, we are diving into an area of our strategic plan that relates to Devereux's clients, families, and partners, along with how we're working to further elevate satisfaction levels among these key stakeholders. A big welcome to the following leaders: Devereux President and CEO, Carl Clark; Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Rhea Fernandes; and very special guest, Hank Booth, e-commerce manager for the Coca Cola Company. Hank has been on the Devereux, Georgia Advisory Board for nearly a decade. And since 2021, he has been a member of Devereux's National Board of Trustees. Welcome, and thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks, happy to be here.
Well, thank you. And so we're going to get started, but I do want to provide a little context for our viewers. So Devereux's strategic plan prioritizes quality and safety above all else. It places our families at the center of every decision, every action, through what we call our Devereux Family Standard of Care. And surrounding that standard of care includes 6 strategic priorities, or planks. Today, we're going to focus on the third plank, which is related to our clients, or we call them individuals at Devereux, along with our families and partners. Carl, I'd like you to kick off this conversation by sharing your thoughts on why you think it's so critical that Devereux maintain that high level of trust among its families and those in our care.
Well, families entrust us with their most valued resource, that's their children, to care for them. So safety and trust is paramount for what we do. And that connection with the family in that manner is incredibly important. We also have to not lose sight that the family is the core of that child's living, their experience, right? So we always are deferential to families and looking at things from their perspective.
Thank you so much, Carl. And Rhea, I know that this area of our strategic plan is very near and dear to your heart. So tell me what this area of our plan includes, along with some of the actions we're taking to elevate satisfaction among our families and community partners.
Sure, Amy. So first and foremost, I think it has to do with meeting our families and our individuals where they are. They come to us from a vast array of backgrounds. Some of them have had interface with getting behavioral health services. For some, it's very scary and very new. They've had a wide variety of experiences, some good and some very challenging. And so the first thing is, providing as much information that we can to our families when we first engage with them on what they can expect and who is Devereux, what is our approach, and what's the environment that their loved one is going to be in. And from that very first engagement, we then try and strive to have the most continuous consistent communication we can with that loved one, because from working through technology, because some of our families send their individuals and loved ones a great distance, sometimes across states. We have some youth that come from other countries, for example, and there's a lot of geographic disbursement of where our families come from. And so having that continuous communication with them about their loved one, and it comes down to the basic things. I mean, think about what you and I would want to know about our loved ones if they were far away from us. So, what was their day like? What kind of activities have they had for the day? Are their needs being met? Have they been upset? Did they go on the outing they were supposed to go on? How did the dental appointment go? These are things that families care about and gives them peace of mind. And when they don't know about it, they stay awake worrying about their loved one. Another area is trying to find that family and individual voice in our center advisory boards. Almost every one of our centers has an advisory board. Almost every one of our centers have a lot of engagement, and we try to have family members on those advisory boards. I think that Hank has played a big part at the Devereux, Georgia Center as a great example of somebody with lived experience who has enriched Devereux, starting with an advisory board and now as a trustee. And we have advisory boards by service lines, because what is important to a family when they have their child in foster care, for example, is quite different to what is important to a family who might be in a community-based program or in an education program. And so we try to hear family voices and have them advise us on what they would like to see based on what services their child is getting. And then ultimately, we have pretty significant family representation on our national board of trustees, which is our governing board, which is really significant. Last but not least, it's constant engagement with the community, law enforcement, stakeholders in the community who also hold seats on our advisory boards, and the clinical and operation improvements that we're constantly trying to make. And we test ourselves by getting external organizations. We just got an accreditation by Presidium. Almost every single one of our centers has an accreditation by an external entity. So while we're making those efforts, we want the external validation of somebody coming in completely objectively, looking at us and saying, you're either hitting the mark or here's where you need to improve.
Our families are everything. So thank you for explaining that. And Hank, I'd like to turn the focus to you, if I could. I know our view on clients, families, and partners is really particularly important to you. And I was wondering if you'd be willing to share some information about your background with us.
Yes, I certainly would, Amy, and it's a privilege to be here to do that. When I was a young teenager, I was searching for meaning and purpose, and not finding the answers that I was looking for, and ended up getting involved in the wrong crowd. This caused my parents great consternation and worry, and they sent me to Devereux, Texas, in Victoria, Texas, when I was 16, and I stayed there a full year. When I was there, when I got there, I quickly realized that there was a culture of care there, that people really did genuinely care for me, and that all by itself was very helpful. But Devereux, Texas, was for me a critical turning point in my life, and I'll never forget it.
Hank, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. That's amazing that you spent time at our Devereux, Texas Center, and you're willing to share with us today. And truly, it is not often we have an opportunity to speak with a national trustee who is also served by our organization. So when you look back, does anything stand out to you in terms of the care you received or the life lessons you learned?
Yes, Amy, I think three things really stand out among many. But the first is the culture of care. I think Rhea talked about that, and that was, as I said, very obvious to me when I arrived on the Devereux campus. Not just by the leaders. Whenever you arrive at a new campus, you talk to the leaders, you talk to the therapists, and certainly all of those people exhibited genuine care for me, but also the direct care staff who I interacted with. I formed relationships quickly with them, which were very positive in my life, and they served as role models for me. And the therapist in the group therapy sessions were extremely helpful. They facilitated very helpful dialogue between us. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention that the culture within the clients themselves, and you say, and rightly so, clients are called individuals, because that's what we are. We're individuals, so who we are. And we had a very positive culture within our group. Whenever anybody experienced a personal triumph in their life, we all celebrated with them. Whenever somebody, something went the wrong way with somebody, we were there for them, putting our arms around them and encouraging them. And I remember still, as if it were last week, situations where that happened, and it would make people, I think, weep for joy if they saw it. And I know, of course, that it continues. That culture of care continues both vertically and horizontally within the Devereux system. Yeah, and the second thing was that I was removed from what was a very volatile and potentially destructive environment where I lived at home. That was, as I said, I got involved in the wrong crowd. When you're a teenager, that can be deadly, depending on what's going on in that group of people. So as I was removed from that, taken to Devereux, Texas, where I had lots, as I said, lots of positive role models and very good coaching, personally allowed me to step back and reassess my life and what I had focused on and where I was going. That was very helpful. And then finally, as much as our society may not like to admit it, I believe there's a vital spiritual component to, each human life. And I was visited on many occasions by a Catholic priest named Father Orr. And it wasn't just me. He, of course, came to our entire unit, and anybody who wanted to could meet with him. And he was very encouraging, very supportive. I'll never forget his involvement. And that really was that was the crowning touch of what I needed at Devereux, especially at that point in my life.
When you think about Hank's message as a governing trustee, it's pretty inspirational, right? That life experience, and he knows a great deal about what we do and what our mission is oriented toward. So we're really grateful to have Hank and others like him that represent the families on the board as part of that, because it really keeps us grounded and focused on doing the right thing for the right reasons. So we're all very grateful to have him as part of that team.
Yeah, Hank, your story is so inspiring, and no matter how many times we talk and I hear it, it's equally inspiring. It's just incredible, and it's a gift to have you on our board. But I think that, every time I hear your story, I think for myself and also the team, it just is the motivation and the push to keep going harder and stronger at the work that we do, right? The person that you are today and the role that Devereux played in your life, and you live an incredibly fulfilling life with your family, and you've got incredible personal and professional achievements. And you had an impact beyond your own family, in your community, and now broadly to the lives that Devereux touches every year. And to think that we may have had a part in making a difference in one person's life, who is then making all of that difference. It's just the potential for us to change lives is endless, and it gives me reason to strive to just continue to do better and better. And I speak for everybody here.
Absolutely, Rhea. I completely agree. And I love that we're all touching on this culture of caring here, because it's so true, whether it's, you're working with your colleague or one of our individuals or one of our family members, someone in the community. It's really, truly a community of caring. And Hank, I want to follow up with you. I know that you volunteered your time and talents in a board capacity at Devereux since 2012. And I have to tell you, we are so incredibly grateful for your service, because it, just like Rhea said, it's people like you who continually push us to make us better. Tell us a little bit about your work on the Georgia Advisory Board and now the National Board of Trustees. How did this happen, and why did you get involved?
Early on, back in, I guess, starting in the 90s, early 90s, I became very involved in my church as a youth minister, really focused on middle schoolers, because I think that's where the trouble really starts. And then, in about 2012, I started thinking about how I could get involved, as Father Orr had helped me in Devereux, Texas, how I could get involved in Devereux, Georgia. So I contacted Devereux, Georgia, and asked them if I could teach a Tuesday night Bible study every week at Devereux, Georgia. And I was given the thumbs up from everybody. So I was thrilled to do that. And as I started doing it, it became a wonderful part of my life to be able to interact on this level with children, to hear them. I probably in these Bible studies do as much listening as I do talking. And this has become a vital part of my life. At that time, too, in 2012, I was asked by the Devereux, Georgia Advisory Board to become a member of that group. And I have been a member since then and now serve as chairman of that board. And I also, of course, as you've already mentioned, in 2021 was asked to become a Devereux trustee. These are great honors because they allow me to serve the children of Devereux in more ways. And that's what it's really all about for me. I am extremely humble about these things because I know from whence I have come. And it's only by God's grace that I am here. And I realize that. And I just want to do whatever I can for these children. I serve with board members and with the leadership team at Devereux. And I am staggered by their accomplishments, by their abilities, I guess most of all by their hearts, because they share with me the true heart of this, which is for the children. These children, to me, I have a mental image, those National Geographic shows where the turtles, they're hatched on the beach and they scurry down as fast as they can to the ocean side to avoid the eagles that are swooping down to pick them up. Well, I use that as a kind of a metaphor of what Devereux does for children, to provide that air cover they need to reach a place of safety where they can grow, where they can be nurtured and pointed in the right direction. They have been through so much in their short lives. They deserve and need all we can give them. And that's why I'm so glad and so grateful that Devereux exists and that it stands in the gap every day for these children. I don't believe there's any more important role in the world than supporting and helping and loving the children of Devereux.
Carl, how do Hank's comments and all the work we're doing around this particular strategic initiative inspire you every day?
It's a recognition that many of the kids that we serve have been traumatized in their life. And some of them come to us in a state of tragically hopelessness. And it's people that care, because that's quite a dangerous place to be, right? Mm-hmm. So it's people that care and intervene and help lift them out of that to move to the next level. Like Hank said, when he was 16, he was going through a difficult time. It's amazing the impact you can have in a short span of time by bringing some positive light into these kids' lives. So it's reassuring, and it as one of my bosses, I'm grateful to Hank for his service to Devereux.
I agree. Thanks, Carl. And I just want to say thank you very much to Carl, Rhea, and Hank, and to all those watching. And so thank you for your time today. I know this takes a few minutes, so I hope that it lifts your spirits. And if you are a Devereux team member, thank you for making a difference in the lives of our individuals and families.
Yeah.
And if you don't work for Devereux, being here allows you to make a positive impact every day on individuals and families who need high quality clinical care, compassion, and support. This is extremely rewarding work. And so if you're interested in a career in behavioral health, look for us online at jobs.devereux.org. Take care and have a great day.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.